more than just a discovery. These are my confessions, y'all. These are my confessions. So I just finished watching the last episode of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, and the last season, it really put 1, 2, and 3 all together for me, and I had a lot of discoveries with this. And I just wanted to come on and share some of the discoveries that I had, and maybe some of you guys are having some of these discoveries as well. And it really seemed as though this new age that we've come into, which is the age of the Aquarius, with this truly being the year of 2012, it's just bringing an abundance of enlightenment, and it's helping me to see some things. So so with season 1 and episode 1, it started off with Philippa Georgiou and Michael Burnham. Well, the first one is called The Vulcan Hello, and they're working on this planet, and they're walking in the sand. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was to look up what sand represents. And because I've seen sand being played with and used in like several different movies. So like in the movie Doom, and like in the movie Beetlejuice, in the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, The Golden Compass, and I think that okay. So I know that sand is being used as a symbol for something, and so I just wanted to see what the symbol was. So as I looked it up, and so sand, and I have it here. So it could represent time. It could also represent, I mean, there's a few things that it says that it could represent, but I'm just going to pick out a few things because of what the underlying story is inside of Star Trek Discovery. So it says that walking on the sand, it could mean a spiritual time. It could mean that you're missing inner peace of life. And it says dreams of which women are walking on sand is not considered to be positive news. It could mean death of someone in particular, or death of a relationship. And so Philippa Georgiou and Michael, they're walking in the sand and in the beginning of this thing. And then with what I just read in regards to the symbolism of the word sand is what's going to follow inside of the story. So I'm not going to go through every episode inside of the season, but for number 1, so they're walking inside of the sand. And at one point, Philippa says to Michael,
"With my life, Commander Burnham, but it doesn't change the fact that you're lost. Very lost."
She told her that she was lost. And this represented that Michael was spiritually lost, and that she could be lost in time. And then Philippa, she said, and I'm just paraphrasing, she was making a path, and that she wanted Michael to stick with her with this path, to follow closely with it. And then it turned out that what Georgiou, Captain Philippa Georgiou, what she was doing, she was plotting out a type of a star. And at one point, Michael had mentioned that you can't set a course without a star. And it turned out that what Philippa was doing and why she wanted Michael to follow her closely with her footsteps is because she was setting a star. And she actually drew a star in the sand, and the image of the star is pretty prevalent inside of this series. It's just going to be shown in various different ways. So this just sort of symbolized that they were going on a journey, and they were going on a spiritual journey through time. And that was what I got out of this. Now, I'm going to show you what I mean by that, that there are stars like all throughout this. I'm going to draw this out. Now, I'm going to get my camera so that you can see this. Okay, so here's the here's the star. Now, within the star, if you just look at this portion here of the star, that's their badges. And this is what she drew inside of the sand, the badges. And then if you look at the ship coming down and you're looking up at it, it's also a star as well. But instead it has the circle like this. And it's like that. So it's also a star. And then there's going to be, like in the portal room, you'll have symbols of the star as well. What it's going to show is really just, it shows the center here. And then it shows the, it's going to show lines like this. So it's showing the star. And I'll come back to this a little bit later because this is going to be very, very important. And really, these points, I mean, you know, a perfect star. Okay, so a perfect star, the points would all be more evenly shaped in sizes. They would all be evenly shaped in sizes so that the middle inside of here would be at a better angles too. All right, let's get this put back in its spot here. All right, and now there's also something that was very important that Giorgio had mentioned to Michael while they were walking inside of the sand as well. She told her that within 7 years that she had served, that Michael served up under her, and that it's time for her to have her own command. So it's time for Michael to be in control. And Michael, she came off a bit hesitant when she said that, and this is also why it seems that this journey needs to take place, and that they're gonna do like a spiritual journey going through time.
With my life, Commander Burnham, but it doesn't change the fact that you're lost. Very lost. Follow my footsteps, Michael. Even lines.
Why? We're far too small to be seen with the naked eye. And you can't set a course without a star. How did they find us?
I said a star.
Okay, now here's something that I need to, I feel like I need to mention as well, because of how I see this. a lot of these characters, the main characters at least, they represent different aspects of Michael's psyche. So they would, and like different body parts and just stuff like that. Because keep in mind that this is really going to be about Michael, although we see a whole bunch of other characters here. Now these other characters, they have their own life stories, but their life stories is really going to be based on her and her psyche, and because this is her journey. And a lot of times when you see the other characters, they will just be in their characters, but they still represent some part of Michael and what they mean to Michael, because it's her journey. She's going through the looking glass. She's, you know, so, but starting with Philippa Georgia, Philippa, she is like the Lord of Terror. She is also like her guide. She is like a fairy godmother. She also represents a type of mother to her, and we get to see this played out inside of the series too. And so she represents several different things. In this first episode, when they're walking on the sand, she's more like her guide and maybe like a fairy godmother to her. Also, some of the underlying stories inside of this is, I mean, it's a chakra story as well. And this is also, they're pulling off, they're pulling off a lot of stuff inside of this, because it's also, what is this, Alice in Wonderland, and she's also telling some of the story. They're saying some of the story inside of it, you know, just actually saying it, where Spock is actually saying it, and she's saying some of the stuff. But it's also the Wizard of Oz, the Wiz, you know, it's all of that, because those are all chakra stories. And then, and just like the breakdown that I did for Lucifer, because that's a chakra story as well. So we see at one point where, now after they've gotten back to the ship, and we see that there is something out in space, and the ship can't necessarily get to it. And so what Michael does, she goes out on a space flight using her spacesuit, and you can sort of look at Michael as being an angel, the angel Michael, if you're religious, and that is kind of what they're alluding to as well. And there's another reason why she would be looked at as an angel too. But look at her as being an angel, and she gets to this structure that's just out in space, and as she's on it, it triggers a guardian, and this guardian is known as the torchbearer. And so the torchbearer, or you can also call him the light bearer. And so if you're religious, then you know what the light bearer is. The light bearer would be Lucifer. If you look into metaphysics, the occult, spirituality, then the torchbearer, the light bearer, represents Lucifer. He represents the pineal gland as well. And she ended up killing the torchbearer. And I saw, to me, her killing the torchbearer was like, this was where she just kind of, this was like a falling from grace, if you will, like falling from grace. This is where Lucifer fell from his place on high in heaven and fell down to earth. So that was the fall. That's also where you have the energy from the pineal gland falling and going down into the genitals. So that is heaven, and then the lower energy centers, your lower chakras, that's earth. That's your humanity. So you're falling into your humanity. And so this is where her journey kicks off. And so that's like falling from grace. And the way that I recognize that as her falling from grace, and some of you probably may have recognized this too. This was like the great fall was how it made me feel. And it reminded me of this dream that I had, or this sensation that I had when I was about maybe 10. I might have been a little bit younger. It's possible that I was around 8. I would say between the ages 8 or 10 or something like that. But I was in bed, and I remember having this dream, and I was on top of something, and I'm just gonna say that it was a building, and I remember falling off of it. And I jumped up, and I just had this really strange sensation. And of course, back then, I couldn't put words to it. I didn't know what it was. It's just that I was falling. And that was the first time that I had ever had, that was the first and last time that I had ever had a dream where I was falling. And when I saw this in this series, that was the first thing that came to my mind, was that sort of represented my fall. And that, I don't know, that just sort of represented like my fall. And I don't know, maybe some of you guys felt that too. I don't know, something similar. But that was what I got out of it. And that's what it took me back to when I saw that. And just because I saw that I'm going through this journey, and this journey is taking her through time, and it just kind of threw me back in time, into my childhood when I saw that. Now, she, so that torchbearer, that was a Klingon. And the Klingons, they have a very special part to play. Well, their character have a very special part to play inside of season 1 in regards to what they represent to Michael. And so she's gonna have some serious dealings with them. So when she get back onto the ship, she lets it be known that there are Klingons. And we hear Captain Philippa Georgiou say that we've engaged the Klingons, because this is where it all starts to kick off. And then we learn what it is that the Klingons mean to Michael Burnham in regards to how they killed her parents. And then it's the personality of the Klingons. And you know, the Klingons, they're this warring type of being. They're pretty aggressive, they're very dominant, and they're attempting to put themselves together as a unit. I don't know, but if you're a Trekkie, then you know who the Klingons are. But this is about who they represent to Philippa, and who it turned out that they was representing to me. Who they represent to Michael. And then, you know, like I said, I saw who they represent inside of me, and that energy that they have, it's a warrior type of aggression, and it dominates over spirituality. And it's an angry type of energy as well. And so with season 1, they're actually dealing with the root chakra. And so that's also in the fall. So so that's where you start with the root chakra with the fall, and so then you have to build yourself up from the root chakra, and so that's what Michael is doing. So he started the root chakra, and with any traumatic events from her youth in the root chakra, and you have to work your way up. And so Michael Burnham, she had traumatic events surrounding the Klingons, and so she had to work out those issues with the Klingons, and we get to see, or at least I saw that, well, they have this ship, and they're using some fascinating names with this. So like, the ship is known as the ship of the dead, which is like the book of the dead. And then there's another ship that's called the where they send where they sent the torchbearer after he died, and it's called the sarcophagus, which is the name of the ship, like the coffin text. So, excuse me. So this is like a lot of information and energy that Michael has to deal with, that she has to battle, and then there comes this war. And the war, it's in episode 2, and it's called the War of the Binary Stars. And this war, it's the war that Michael is fighting inside of herself, which is the war that I see inside of me, and the war that I see that's inside of myself, and that I see myself fighting. And as I'm trying to work out a lot of these different issues, and this is exactly what she's doing. She's working out a lot of various issues that she had from within her childhood. Excuse me. Okay, now let me back up a little bit, because that fall, and I'm keeping in mind that all of this is all this stuff. These are symbols, so everything's been symbolized by something. So the fall can also represent where she fell from her path, the path that was being set initially in her life, and she needs to get back on her path. So there was an episode in season 1 where they showed she was with her biological parents, her mother and her father. And so she was in her natural element, and she was natural. She had her natural bushy, beautiful hair. Her mom, same thing. Her parents, highly intelligent. They're these I don't know what the heck they were called, I forget. And it turned out that her parents were killed. And this is they're showing this as her earliest memory. And so this is a trauma point for her, and this is inside of the root chakra, and this is something that she's working on, and this is why the Klingons are important inside of this. This is why I saw that the Klingons were important inside of this. So the Klingons, they actually killed her biological parents. And so when Philippa Giorgio says that we've engaged the Klingons, this will be where Michael is engaging her shadow self so that she can work out these issues. And how I saw that is because I've been doing a lot of shadow work to work out issues from my past as well. So as I'm watching this series, it's like I'm watching myself in a way. I'm watching myself clear out all the BS that happened inside of my childhood, so that I can move forward, and not continue to carry any of that type of trauma with me. And I mentioned some of this in like some of my other videos. I mentioned this in some of my other videos where I talk about the root chakra, and where I did the wounded child, because that wounded child, has to be healed, and that's what she's doing. And so, so it's about the Klingons is what is a symbol for the trauma that she's had in her youth, and then also they represent the shadow self within her, and so she has to work all of this. She has to work all of this type of stuff out, and so that's what I saw her doing, and that's what I've been doing. And then also, now once that war is actually over, the binary, the war. Oh, and one other thing. Now there's also an episode where they show where Michael got into this relationship with Tyler, and then it turned out to be what Tyler really was, and it almost seemed like a test as to whether Michael had even gotten over the trauma. Could she accept this? Is she able to move on? And because it turned out Tyler was actually a Klingon that was altered to look like a human. And Michael ended up getting into a relationship with Tyler, and she couldn't accept who Tyler was, because Tyler represented the very thing that shook her world and removed her from her path, because the Klingons killed her parents. And I saw that as a test, because if she was able to get over that portion, then she would have passed the test that was being put in front of her. And we all go through these type of tests where it's like, I mean, I'm not going to say we. I'm going to keep talking about myself, because this is about this is about me. But I've had these tests in my life, and and as long as I'm here, I'm gonna always have these tests. And the thing is, will I be able to see it? And how will I react to these tests? Will I be able to pass it? And I just had a couple with this guy, and some interesting stuff. I'm just not gonna go into it either. But it's who he represented to her, because he was a Klingon, but now he's human. So he was transformed, and he no longer holds on to any of the anger and that over aggressiveness that the Klingons represented. And because he became this more gentler, balanced him. But she wasn't there yet. She couldn't accept that, and I knew that relationship between the two of them, I knew that it wasn't going to be able to last, because she hadn't worked out all the Klingons from her system, and that's what he represented. That's what he represented to her. And so then we show that, so the Battle of the Binary Stars, that war, the war is over, and the closer that the war is getting to the end, we see the softer, the more tolerant, and the more accepting that Michael is to Tyler. And so now, and then it comes to a point to where there is a complete harmony, that she's actually learned the lesson that she needed to learn with the energy of Tyler. And then so that was where the coffin takes, not the coffin, the ship of the dead and the sarcophagus, that was just like a lot of information that was coming through that she needed to learn from, because it all had to deal with her traumatic past from her childhood, so that she could move forward. But then also she had to there were still some remnants of the shadow self that she needed to work out, and it wasn't with Tyler so much anymore, because then they showed where she got where she went into the underworld, and the underworld was going to the mirrorverse, where there was just like the complete opposite of them, and that's where we saw the other Philippa Giorgio, because the Philippa Giorgio inside of the realm where Michael was dead. She had died. She was killed by Klingons. And so inside of this mirrorverse, which was the Shadowverse, the underworld, where they traveled through, going through the Looking Girl. So that was where she came upon the other Philippa Giorgio. And as she's battling all the shadows so over there, and gaining information and gaining wisdom so that she could come out of that, when she's not completely out of it, but when they leave the Shadowverse, she still brings something with her. She's still holding on to something, and that's Philippa Giorgio. And this Philippa Giorgio, she is quite a tyrant. She is like the Lord. She is the Lord of Terror, but she brings Philippa Giorgio into her universe, and the more she's working with Philippa Giorgio, the more you see their interaction. The more you see them interacting with each other, the more you see Philippa Giorgio start to soften, and that's also a part of Michael, because Philippa, she's representing like her subconscious mind. She's representing her shadow self. She's representing some remnants, sort of like the Klingon. She's still holding on to some stuff that she needs to completely get rid of and bring into harmony within herself. And when I say I've been doing some shadow work, I've been really doing some shadow work, which is why I was able to see this stuff. It's because the shadow work that I've been doing to clear out all this, to clear out any anger, to clear out any jealousies, to clear out any over aggressiveness, just to clear out because I don't want to be too much over on this side, and I don't want to be too much over on that side. I want to be right here with it all. And that's where that's what I saw Michael Burnham doing inside of this series as well. I need to put this on pause. Okay, I had to turn off that vent. It was a bit too loud, and I'm hoping it don't really come across inside this video, but I'm kind of thinking that it is. But so as Michael is confronting all the stuff inside of her past and working through anger and all that, she brought Philippa Giorgio back. Now, I want to say this too, because all these characters, they are going to represent different aspects of Michael. I think I mentioned it before. But they do represent different aspects of her, and she is angry, but directly she's not going to come off as angry, but they're not always going to show her as being angry, but they'll show it in the different characters that's going to be around her, because the people around her, they actually represent some aspect of her. So they're like different parts of her emotion, her conscious mind, her subconscious mind, her brain, left, right brain, pineal gland, her navigation system. So they're just different parts of her. So you'll see a lot of the emotions, they're going to be worked out and or displayed within various characters, because this series, it really is mainly about her. Although there are a lot of different characters, a lot of different people inside of this, and we'll go inside of their life story, this is really going to be mainly about her. Now, like sometimes when you go into the other characters that's gonna be around her, like with Tilly. I love Tilly. I love her crazy ass with her snorting and her crazy attitude. Love her. But she'll talk about her childhood and the way that she used to be this happy-go-lucky, weird type of child. And she also talks about how her mother treated her, and how her mother would always make her straighten her hair, and she didn't like straightening her hair. And so they show her inside the series where she really embraces her natural hair. And I love Tilly, and I love Tilly's hair. But Tilly represents, this is just how I saw it. I saw that Tilly represented a portion of Michael's younger self, because Michael had her natural hair until after her parents died and she was thrust into a foster family. So the Romulans took her. Well, it was Spock's mother and father, and the father is a Romulan and Sarek, and the mother Amanda is a human. So that's kind of a weird combination altogether. But so when she was put inside of this family, they altered her. And now see, when she was with her biological parents, they showed her as this free-spirited child, and she was on her path. But when she moved and because her parents died, and she was with this other family, they showed that she was changed up, and so she was no longer able to have her natural hair. She had to think and behave in what seems like completely foreign ways to herself. And then she was also treated in different types of ways just because she was a human. And on the Romulan planet, if you're not Romulan, then you're nothing, pretty much. Well, they're really more about logic, and they don't think that anyone can be as logical and correct as they are, in a sense. And her being a human, she's looked at in a certain type of way. And they also show that Spock, who would be her brother now, how he had some issues growing up because he was half Romulan, and he's half Romulan and half human, and the issues that he had to deal with. So both of them were rather messed up as children, and so it's like this is what they're showing inside of the series. And so this is also what Michael is learning in regards to her brother, how messed up he really was as a child, that she never really paid attention to. And this was all done by the parents and the society, the environment that they were in. She was more physically abused because they changed up her entire appearance. They cut her hair, they straightened her hair, and and to a child who came from this loving environment with her biological parents, where she was just free to express and be herself and not have to perform and be like what somebody else thinks that she needs to be like, that would be rather traumatic. But of course the parents didn't see it that way. They figured you're in a Romulan household, you're in a Romulan planet, so you need to behave, you need to look in a certain type of way. So she had the hairstyle like them, she dressed like them, and her behavior needed to be like them, and she needed to think as close to them as possible, or even more so than them. And and all of that type of stuff was taking me to my childhood, because I saw a lot of that inside of my childhood as well. But I don't really want to go into a lot of my childhood, but it was taking me back to my childhood and letting me know that there are things that I need to work on within my childhood so that I can move forward as well, just like what she's doing. But yeah. But yeah, but when you hear Tilly speaking in that type of way, in regards to her past as a child, her younger self, whatever, she's representing Michael's younger self. Excuse me. She's representing Michael's younger self. There was this scene in regards to, there was a scene, or rather this episode, there was this episode where there was this party, and there was just a loop, but before the loop, the episode where there was this party, I don't remember which episode that was, but Tilly, she was having a ball. She just shows her free self. She's just enjoying herself. And I saw that as this is the way that Michael really wants to be. As Michael hasn't been to a party before, and she doesn't know how to behave at a party. And then with the way that she grew up, being in the Romulan household, they weren't doing this type of stuff because her environment was pretty kind of sterile. And so this was something completely foreign to her, but this was the series where they did this loop. So it was a time loop that they were in, and it was just this lesson that needed to be learned. And until she actually learned this lesson, she couldn't move forward. And it just kind of this stuff reminded me so much of my childhood. And like when I was in high school, or maybe in middle school and stuff, you just keep on running across this same type of scenario, and it's like every time you run into this scenario, it might change up a little bit because you didn't learn the lesson the first time around. So now it's gonna come right back at you, and it's gonna be a little bit stronger this time. And if you don't get it this time, it's gonna keep getting stronger, and it's gonna keep getting deeper until you go, oh, I got it. Okay, I got it. And that was what they were doing in this episode with this time loop during this party, until the lesson was learned from this, and then you can move on. And I was like, damn, this stuff is like really, really hitting home for me. And I was just having like all these discoveries myself. But to me, that's just what the series was supposed to cause you to do. It was to cause me to have these discoveries and these realities within myself, so that I could get through some stuff, so I did. I gotta pause this. This is filling up the memory. Okay, so it's just kind of important that I keep this device cleared out. But I want to show something in regards to this star too, so I gotta take this. Okay, so I did my little star over. All right, so I just wanted it to look a little bit better, but this is my little star. And so I want to connect this here. So the star is also known as a pentagram. And don't be afraid of that word. Pentagram is just telling you how many sides. Right? So if you look at this, as a matter of fact, let me turn it. Okay, so look. That's the pentagram. It's just the upside down star. But here's the thing. That's a house. That's a house. It looks like the shape of a house on the inside of that pentagram. And inside of that house, I drew a little dot because this actually represents the human body. So just look at this, okay? So in the Nation of Islam, they say this: arm, leg, arm, head, okay? Because that's the human body. And that's what spells out Allah. That's the human body. And right at the center of that, that's your heart. That is you. That is your true self, right? Now, this pentagram, it's upside down. I mean, the house is upside down. So this is your root chakra. This is your root chakra, and up here, this is your crown. That would be your crown. The only thing is, your house is upside down, and the energy from your crown, from the energy from your pineal gland, fell down into your root chakra. So that is where you have Lucifer, the devil, Satan, whatever. You have this energy from the pineal gland falling down. So there's, okay. So you have it falling down from here. When the house was upright like this, when we were upright like this, our energy was upright. This would have been the crown chakra. This is where your pineal gland is and stuff, okay? So this would have been your head. But now that the energy is fallen, we've fallen into our lower selves, we're at the root chakra. So this is why you work from the root chakra up, and then you go up into the crown chakra. And as you get into the crown chakra, you're crossing the threshold going into the heart. And so now you would be turning your house back upside down because you're not in the underworld anymore. Now you are above ground, you are in life, you are in your spiritual self. And then you would have your crown chakra, you would have your pineal, you would have your throat chakra. Those are all above this line here, okay? But this is you. This is the center of you. There's nothing evil about this. This is just what these people did to keep you away from certain information. That's all it is. You put a scary face on it, and you bury it in a lot of ignorant information. I mean, some of these people actually believe they hold dearly to Satan is real and stuff like that. I mean, because Satan is real, because it would be you. It would be you, or it would be me in our lower self and acting out various emotions of our lower self. But when you come into your higher self, then all that change, you get to see the light. You get to see the light. That is the torch bearer. That is the light bearer. You get to see the light, the truth of it all. So I just wanted to show you this, because see, this is Star Trek, and it's a star, and they're showing you the stars and their emblem, their badges are stars. Their badge is only working with this section of the star, and the house is down, and they're starting at the root. Michael is working from the root, and she's going up, and she's clearing out all of the past traumatic events that have shaped her life, which is what I'm doing. And we do this all the time. We work out all these issues in our life all the time so that we can move forward, so we can move past it, especially when it's like a parent or someone who's died. And during this time right now, where a lot of death is being thrust into your face, you have to deal with it. It's telling you, this is what the universe is telling you: deal with death. You have to deal with death in a completely different way. There has to be a new conversation around death and what death actually means. So this is the pentagram. This is the star. This is you. This represents our body. And I'll go into also in regards to what that angel is, and why I said to look at Michael as an angel. Michael as an angel, or just put Angel Michael. But yeah. Okay. So, in Michael's childhood, she became rather confused. She was conflicted, and she wanted to even escape. And there was a scene where she did attempt to run away, but it was like she couldn't run away. But she was trying to run away from all the stuff that she was being put through as a child, being removed from her path and being put into this foreign environment. And it was completely changing her up. It was changing up the way she thought. It was changing the way that she saw herself. It was changing how she felt about herself, and she was trying to escape all of that. That was just how I saw it. I saw that she was trying to escape all of that, and I didn't necessarily try to run away when I was a child, but there are things that I've attempted to run away from that I felt was going to, that was going to cause me harm, without actually going into a lot of stuff. But I've attempted to run away from a lot of things. Okay, so like when my mom died, I didn't really want to be connected to anything. I wanted to just run away from it all. This isn't exactly an example of her, but this is just me trying to escape something instead of facing it. I was running away from a fear that I had, but then I stopped, I paced myself, and then I started to look at the situation for what it was, and but those are it. This stuff is kind of rather traumatic, but yeah, I mean, I had something inside of my past. I had a lot of stuff inside of my past that I thought was too traumatic to want to face. And so, you try to run away from it. I tried to run away from it. But like I said, this story is my story. You know, this Star Trek Discovery, this is my story. This is, I mean, and it's a lot of people's story, you know, and this is Michael's story. She's just showing some of the traumatic stuff that she went through as a child, and it came through her parents. Although they were her adoptive parents, they were still in the position of a parent, of a guardian. So it could be a grandparent, it could be aunties, it could be uncles, it could be older cousins, it could be teachers, it could be anyone that would have some sort of guardianship over a child that messes children up, that messes us up. And they don't necessarily do it, not necessarily to be mean-spirited. It's these people, they really think, in some of them, they really think that they're showing us the correct way to be, to live, to be in this world. You know, how to grow and be inside of this world. But still, even in that, they're like messing us up, and they're messing us up because they're messed up themselves, but they can't see that they're messed up. They just know that they think that they're doing something that is supposed to be beneficial and helpful to us. And it turns out that it's all just fucking us up. It all tends to throw us off of our path, and you know. Oh boy. So now that Michael is an adult and I'm an adult, I have to put myself back together, just like she had to put herself back together. So I have to go back to the earliest point of my life, to where I would have been traumatized, and I have to completely rip myself apart so that I can put myself back together again and get right back on my path. And that's what Michael is doing. And she's doing this throughout every season. She is ripping herself apart, and she is putting herself right back together. And that is some very interesting shit to watch and to even go through. To willingly put yourself through. You know, it took me a minute to really put this video together, because I really didn't know how I wanted to approach it, you know, because this can be a very sensitive subject. I mean, because, you know, this is about me, and it's about me being truthful to myself. And let me tell you, as I'm sitting here and I'm letting this information out, there is this voice inside of me going, don't say it. Don't say it. Stop. Don't say it, because you don't want people thinking this about you.
Sector, we should withdraw immediately.
But I'm not listening to that voice. Instead, I'm pushing through, and I'm just get over it, because that little voice, that's letting me know that, well, see, that's a little Klingon or something that's still there. That's a little bitty remnant of Giorgio that's still there in the back of my mind, in my subconscious mind, that I need to get handled. I gotta handle it, you know, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And you know, I hear people talking about how you should live your truth, and all, but they don't know what the hell they talking about, live your truth, because they're not actually living their truth. They're still living as part of their shadow self. I mean, I was still living part of my shadow self. And although I've worked out a lot of those Klingons from my system, I know that some of them are still there. I know that some of them are still there, just like I just said. But, you know, but that's a part of being inside of this shell, and, you know, just being with an abundance of emotions. It's all a part of it. And it's all like this test that you have to go through. So as long as I'm inside of this shell, I'm going to be going through all of these different emotions, and each of these emotions I'm going to have to deal with, and I'm going to have to learn. And I was going to say we, but it's best for me to say I, because as long as I'm inside of this body, inside of this shell, this vehicle here, I'm gonna have to deal with all of these emotions, and I'm gonna have to put them in their place, not try to lock them away, not try to hide them, not try to act like they don't exist, you know, like the Romulans. Yeah. You know, not hide like Spock's mother was hiding to express her emotions to the children. So I know I can't act like that. I know, you know, like they just bury all their emotions, like they don't have any emotions, and then their emotions start to creep up on them because they've never learned how to deal with these emotions. So because they pressed them down, so now they're creeping up on them, you know. Because all they did was suppressed all the emotions. But it's not about suppressing your emotions, you know. So I'm working through my emotions, and see, because my earliest memory of trauma is in my youth, and it's with my parents, and in regards to how they broke up. I mean, I did a video. It's a 3-part video. And it's in regards to healing the inner child, healing the wounded child. My mother, my father, you know. There is a lot of information that I did leave out of that. I didn't want to put like a whole bunch of information inside of there, but a lot of that stuff I had already dealt with, so it was like just dealing with some of the remnants that I still had left over, and that was what that video was. But yeah, so anyway, my earliest memory of trauma is in my young childhood, and it had to deal with one. Now, don't get me wrong. I worked through like all this type of stuff, so I don't have like these emotions that's gonna like stop me in my tracks and break me down, and I'm gonna be crying all over the place because I haven't been able to move forward. You know, like I would see some adults do in regards to thinking about their parents' death and how they miss them and stuff. No, I don't have that. I don't have that in me at all anymore. I've worked through all this type of stuff, so I don't get broken down by my emotions. But it was in my my earliest childhood. But this was, and see, when I think about it now, I mean, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. And now, okay, so it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of funny. Hold on, I gotta clear this out. I mean, the stuff that happened in my childhood, a lot of people wouldn't think that it was traumatic, but to a child who's actually going through it, this stuff can be real messed up. I mean, because it's a child. Okay, so for example, when I was a child, our father, he would make some hot cereal. And it would be so, oh gosh, it would be lumpy as I don't know what. It would be so nasty. It would be dry. And he would make us sit there and eat it. Here you go, sit there and finish eating that. Now, he liked it. But to us as little kids, that stuff was so nasty. Oh my gosh. And the things that I would do, and I was like 4 or 5 years old, I remember this. And we were always told, don't waste food, don't throw it away, you know. And so, you know, I wouldn't throw it away in the trash. I would hold it in my mouth and I would wait till no one was looking. I would throw it up under the sink. I would throw it down I would put it anywhere except for in the trash because you don't throw food away because I was a little kid. And so, but yeah, I was like 4 or 5 years old. I would put it under the kitchen sink. Yep. Down the stairs. Yep. Behind the china cabinet. I didn't care. I just wasn't gonna eat it. I wasn't gonna eat that, and I didn't. You know. But I mean, it was so nasty, and I was a little kid. And on the way to school, I would have some in my mouth, and I'll be sneaking and put my hand up to my mouth, and I'd be throwing it out because I knew that if my siblings saw me, they'd probably tell me, and I wouldn't get in trouble. I was in kindergarten and we were walking to school, and I even remember in my kindergarten class with some food still inside my mouth, and I would sneak and take it out my mouth and I would throw it up under the little desk. I just put it there. I would put it right in that drawer, and then the teacher would let me go to the bathroom and I get the rest of it out of my mouth. Yes, yep. I went through all of that because I hated it. I hated it. I mean, our father, he would make us sit and eat that food. It didn't matter if it was nasty to us. And to a child, that's rather abusive. But of course, he didn't see it that way. I mean, you know, he didn't mean anything by it. But eat that food. I mean, you know, we weren't rich and we didn't have a lot of money, but people around us, they didn't see us as being poor or anything because our father, he had his own cab company, you know, and he called it Wonderland of all the names. And, you know, he bought us all types of games and toys. We had big wheels, hula hoops, jump ropes, skates, bikes, skateboards. We had all that type of stuff, you know. So we never wanted for anything, you know. We had baby dolls, erector sets. We never wanted for anything like that. But you know, it was some other stuff that he wasn't really paying attention to. You know, that type of thing with making you eat the food, sit there. You know, just things like that he wasn't really paying attention to. You know, he was a very logical guy. You know, just kind of like the Romulan. Cyril, but not that sterile, but he was kind of like that, you know. He was very logical. And our mom was more like the wife, like Amanda. She was more the creative side. She was that creative part, you know. Just like that mother and father, Cyril and Amanda of Spock and Michael, mine was just kind of like that. You know, our parents, they didn't cuss or anything. We didn't get beat or anything like that, you know. There was no putting hands on us like that. You know, our father, he didn't believe in that. He didn't believe in spanking us. You know, he just didn't. You know, to him, that was some leftover slave mentality type of stuff. So, you know, we didn't get beat. You know, that just wasn't something that happened to us. But it was nothing like that. He would have us to sit and do like meditations. He would have us to sit and do like meditations or stand in the corner or something like that. But as far as spanking us, no, we didn't get spanked. But that was one of my earliest experiences from when I was a child. That was one of my experiences. these are things that I never would have considered as being traumatic and programming that could actually mess you up as a kid, and that these would be things that would stick with me as an adult. And then because, you know, then I start building up type of walls to try to protect myself, and, you know, I start working on that ego, and that would be like the little Klingons. I start building all that up, you know, that would be the ego, because I would need to protect myself, you know. And, you know, to start protecting yourself, and that's that warrior side. And they were showing this inside of the series in regards to how Michael had to build up this wall to protect herself. So she was protecting herself from being teased, from being human on the Romulan planet. She had to protect herself, you know, just for being a human on that planet. And then she's trying to look like them, and she knows she's not Romulan. She doesn't have the ears like them, but she got the hairstyle like them, but she's not Romulan. And they're kind of considering her as being inferior and all this stuff. And so they showed that as being her earliest moment of trauma. And, well, that was one of my earliest moments of trauma. Yeah, one of them. Okay, so now see, as an adult, I can laugh and I can reason it, because I'm, you know, I have that wisdom now to actually understand that. But as a child, that type of stuff, that can hurt. You know, you might cry, you could become insecure about some things. And no telling how else you could become over something like that. I mean, things inside of my past caused me to become insecure about myself. It made me, I became quite timid. I was a bit withdrawn. Although my family would say that I talk a lot, but that's just because I was talking to them. But I was rather shy. Still am a little bit. I mean, I was always very friendly and outgoing. I was always a friendly child, but there were various things that happened in my childhood that altered my perspective of myself and even my perspective of other people. And you know, those are things that I had to reconcile. And you know, I didn't really come to grips with a lot of the stuff until I became a bit older. And, you know, and I became an adult with a wise enough mind to see with an adult's eye, you know, in regards to things that was happening in my past, and in regards to how it actually did alter and change me, and to see how I needed to fix it. And so, well, now, let me back up, because, well, you know, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar chakra, all these areas are very, very powerful. And these are very creative energy centers, and we create so much. I mean, children are created there. Men bring down their sperm through there for creation of a child, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, this is a very creative area. And as we're growing up through this trauma that's being held, and it's being held inside of this area, and you wonder how somebody can come up and actually do some demented stuff to a child, or how they can come up with a lot of these crazy messed up movies, you know, or just how they can just go out and randomly kill somebody or shoot up a school, you know, the Columbine shooter, you know, all that type of crap. You know, that's because they got real fucked up root chakras. They got all this trauma that's still inside, and they never ever deal with it. And all they did was cover it over, try to hide it. They built up all these walls, trying to hide behind these walls, creating the shadow self, you know. So they have these Klingons. That's that warrior self that's protecting them, you know. Yep, they just never worked through it. And so, you know, well, that's what I was watching when I'm watching Star Trek Discovery. And, you know, and I'm seeing Commander Burnham. I'm seeing as she fell from her path and she's attempting to put herself right back together, as she completely ripped herself apart and she is putting herself back together. And that's what I had to do. And that is something that I still do to this very day. And I continue to go into myself and I just rip myself apart. So anytime something comes up, I try to figure out where did it come from? Where did it come from? And then once I see where it came from, I work with that energy and then I'm okay. Okay, so, wow. This light is blinking. Okay, so any anger that comes up, I don't hold on to it. I release it and I forgive myself. But you know, I connected with this series in ways that I never knew that I would connect with that story. And see, and all that stuff in my past, it hurt in my past, but none of that stuff hurts now because I worked through that. And you know, and even where my mom died, and as I watched her going through all this type of stuff from cancer, I don't even have pain in me in regards to that. And to me, if I can get over the pain of her dying and watching what she went through, if I can get over that, I can get over anything. So, you know, on the anniversary of her death or her birthday or anything like that, you know, my emotions do not take me out like maybe it would do other people. You know, I see a lot of people that get taken out over situations over how their mother is gone and how they miss their mother. You know, I actually still believe that my mother is here with me. I mean, I connect with my mother all the time. You know, my mom was a great cook, and that's who I got cooking from as well. But but yeah. I mean, but I know, you know, so those of you that aren't living your true self, you're not living your true story, you're not walking your true path, you know, you're still lying to yourself. Basically, you're still lying to yourself. Basically, there's this wall that you have that's protecting you from anything and anybody, from ever hurting you again, from ever hurting you, or, you know, from whatever. You know, you have these walls that's built up to protect yourself, because I had walls that were built up. You know, I had walls. But I had to release myself from all that. And every now and then, I might see some of those remnants of that wall, and I tear it down. Got to tear down that wall. You know? You know, at this age that we're in right now, the Aquarian age, there's this energy that's on this planet. It's not even allowing for like any of that negative stuff to stay with me. It wants me to completely burn it off, and I have been burning off. And I'm gonna tell you how I've been burning off, but I'll tell you that later. And you know, it's just like Michael's last name, Burnham. I've been burning it off, and Michael has been burning it off too. But yeah, so we build up these walls. And Stamets' character, he is very interesting, because Stamets, well, he's the navigator inside of the body. He's the part of the brain. And that part of the brain, it's part of the temporal lobe. It's called the internal cortex. It's a network for memory, navigation, and perception of time. And what does he do in the spore drive? He's the navigator. He moves through time and space, and he uses the mycelial network as his navigation to navigate through it. So he's in the neural net. He's in the head. So stamets also represents one half of the hemisphere of the brain. So he's the left side of the brain. And what's her name? Which they say it has more to do with logic. And Tilly, she's also part of the brain, and she represents the right side of the brain. And you always see them together, and they'll be locked into these little arguments in regards to what course to take. How should we do this? Should we do this, or should we do it like this? You know, about the mycelial drive. And sometimes his logical side might be so dominant to where it would rule out her more creative side. She is the feminine aspect, and he's the masculine aspect of the brain. So she's more creative, so she comes up all these creative ideas for how to get things done, and he puts logic behind it. And if he don't find that her creative ideas, well, her creative ideas are based in science, and she can be logical as well, but she's not like him. But if he finds that it doesn't balance off with his logic, he'll shoot it down. And he'll go with his logic all the time. But you'll see at some point he balances that out with her. And these are the fights that's going on inside of Bernard's brain, and it goes inside of our brains like all the time. All the time. And especially if there's a lot of confusion and you can't make up your mind and just go, oh, well, I'm just gonna go with this right here, the more logical thing. But the most logical thing, it might not be the more proper thing to do or the best thing to do. It might be the more creative thing that you want to go with. Now in season 1, episode 2, it's called Battle of the Binary Stars. That's where the war where the Klingons pretty much kicked off. And here's how I looked at this. Because this stuff is like on a completely different level than what you're seeing with your eyes. So now in the media, you'll see where, well, I mean, I don't watch TV, but you go on Facebook and you can't help but to run across something. Go on any social media, you can't help but to run across something, even if you're not necessarily looking for it. But in the media, they've been talking about this war, and this is supposed to be the last war or the Great War or whatever, right? So this is the war. And if you watch Battle of the Binary Stars, episode 2, and if you allow yourself to see this from a more spiritual point of view, then you would actually be able to see that depending on where you place your attention, you will either see that there's going to be a war out in the streets, people are going to be fighting, there's going to be bloodshed, people are going to be killing each other and whatnot, or you get to see the real war, which is happening, that's a spiritual war, which is the war that's inside of you. That's the war that Michael Burnham is fighting inside of her. That's actually the last great war. See, that's the last great war because it's the last war that you ever have to fight within yourself once you worked all of that out. So once you were to work out all of that trauma from your past, then you'd be able to move forward and everything would be glorious. And this energy that's here on this planet, that's still coming here on this planet, it was actually represented in this series as well. And
it's also ancient. Initial scans put it at 100,000 years old.
Organic. Saying it's some kind of a life form? Maybe it is a damn spider. I hate spiders.
like I said, it just depends on where you are placing your attention and who you're allowing to guide your attention and guide your awareness. Because also in season 1, Michael Burnham, she well, after Philippa Giorgio was killed on Romulan ship in episode 1. That was in episode 1. There was another captain that took her onto his ship, and that was Captain Gabriel Lorca, and he was very manipulative. And so he was guiding her in a sense, so he was guiding her attention. And so he was in a sense would be like kind of like what the media does, how the media wants to guide your attention to what it wants you to focus on. So it wants you to focus on this war that's going to be coming in because the president said he's going to have this war. And if you focus on what they're talking about, that there's a war going on outside, you'll miss the war that you're supposed to be working on that's on the inside of you. And again, the energy that this shift of this planet, that the energy that it's going through, this shift is what's bringing all of this to the forefront. And it's so that you can work on it, because all of this actually have to do with our heart center, because this is all about raising our frequency, our heart center, and removing the blocks. And this is so that we can get to where we need to be, that's meeting this energy that's coming to this planet and that's on this planet. Because other than that, you'll be left behind. And it's like you'll die the final death. If you can't remove all of this stuff, if you can't release yourself from all the anger, all the hate, all the jealousy, all that, you have to remove yourself from all that, any and all of that off balance emotions that's throwing you off, and just bring yourself to the center, because all of that stuff causes stress on the body. Because you want to be able to move forward, you want to be able to transcend with this energy, or you may just die the final death, and so you won't pass go, you won't move forward, and you'll be doing that scene where Michael went to the party and she was in that time loop. You would continue that time loop, that deja vu over and over and over again until you've gotten it right. And every time it gets worse and worse and worse, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So yeah, there is a great war, but the great war is not, and it never has been, the war in the streets. That's just the smoke screen. That's just been a thing to take your attention away from the great war that you're supposed to be fighting on the inside of yourself, so that you can transcend with this energy, so that you can move on with this energy, so that you can be, in a sense, the X-Men. That's where all this stuff came from. This is this time right here, right now. You're supposed to be doing the work. We're supposed to be doing the work. This is part of me doing the work. You know, I like to play these games, these puzzle type games, like Match 3s, you know, stuff like that, like Frozen and Maleficent, you know, those type of games, and those other games too. And you know, like Spark that Microsoft made. Yeah, Microsoft made it. I got that when I was working with Microsoft. It's for building games, and you build like worlds inside of it, and you create worlds and stuff inside of it and stuff. And so I like playing that as well. And it can be a challenge at times, and sometimes you can whiz through these different boards, and sometimes, you know, because you can see the patterns. But sometimes, you know, by the time I get to see the pattern, I don't have any more moves left to make. And so, you know, the game, that portion of the game, it ends, and then it restarts. So I have to start all over, and then hope to see that pattern again. And I'm saying that is the way that life is. That is the way that this planet is pretty much put together. It's like a puzzle, and there are so many challenges and levels that you're going to be going through with this, and all these challenges are tests. And sometimes, you know, you pass the test because you can see the challenge and you can meet it head on and you can get through it. Ta-da! You just did it. But other times, you may not be able to see that challenge, and by the time that you get to see it, well, by the time you get to see how that puzzle is actually laid out and how to run through that maze of the game so that you can finish it, you may not even have any more lifetimes left to even actually do it, so you got to start all over. And there you go, you have that baby brain again. And you know, when you get that baby brain, whew, yeah, that baby brain could be a bitch. So you're starting over, and all these clues are gonna be laid out right in front of you. Now the thing is, can you put it all together? Can you put this puzzle of a world all together so that you can move through it, so that you can be balanced, moving all through it and moves through it successfully, so that you can continue through each and every last one of the lives that you actually have. Yeah, so you can move through it with all the actual lives that you have, so that you can do it successfully without actually using up all the lifetimes that you've been given. Oh boy. No. So that was that scene. That was also that scene where there was that deja vu at that party. And how that portion of life would be lived over and over and over again. And then there's that little part of your brain that can see that, but you're not really sure, because you know how deja vu comes in, and it's like, it seems like this happened before, but you don't stick with it to try to follow it through. That's what that scene was. Stamets was that little part of the brain that was able to actually see it, but that little part of the brain was able to stick with it and follow it through and get the work done. And so that loop was actually ended. Once Michael Burnham learned it all, it was ended. You know, we tend to resonate with information based on where we are in life. And something that I realized, and something that I know now, is that everything and everybody is here to assist me. It is all about me, and you should be saying it is all about you. Everybody that is on this planet, any and everybody that I run into, everything is here for me. It's here for my benefit. Everybody that's watching my videos, it's all for my benefit. Here's how I say this. Because even though the things that might make me mad, that piss me off, that make me happy, that make me be like, oh, anything that engages my emotions is all for me, because it's something for me to learn from. It is part of this puzzle. It is part of this game. It's those levels. It's everything. It's everything that I need to figure out. And so when there's something that's pissing me off or making me angry or something, it's saying that there is something inside of me that I need to look at, that I need to get corrected. And because that's gonna be like one of those little things that if I don't fix it, it's gonna always pop back up. It's gonna always pop back up, and it's gonna pop up in various types of scenarios. So I have to fix it then and there. And the only thing is, I gotta know what I'm looking for. So it's just like when I'm playing my games. I gotta know what I'm looking for. I gotta look for the patterns. So I gotta look for the pattern in myself. So what is it that's making me angry? Why does it always make me angry? Where does it even come from? I mean, it's okay to be angry because those are my emotions. And being here on this planet, being here on this planet, and everything is about engaging my emotions in some type of a way, and that is part of what allows me to know myself. Because, you know, when I figured out, that's how I just learned something about myself. You know, but yeah, that's how I get to know myself. That's how I get to learn, and that's how I get to grow. So if I say that I see that everybody is angry, that everybody is mad, and I'll give an example. Like when people are mad with or angry with some sort of a situation, like with Trump, or I say that they're mad at him, or not necessarily mad at him or Biden, or maybe things that they've done, or angry that things that they've done or haven't done. You know how I'd be able to see that anger? Because maybe there was some anger inside of me. There would have been some kind of, or some type of anger inside of me. And my anger may not be directed in that person's direction, because that person isn't affecting my life personally or directly. But there's something about that situation that connects to me, and it allows me to see the anger that's inside of myself. So I have to check myself for why I would even have this cue in me. You know, why is this that it's something that will come up in me so that I can see it in others? So instead of me looking to check somebody else in their anger, I know I need to check myself with whatever my anger is. So I had did this post like a few months ago, something like that, and I was asking this honest, simple question. This was on my Facebook page, and so I had asked, what did the orange guy do that makes black people so angry? Why are you so angry with him? And because personally, like I said, I wasn't feeling angry. You know, that wasn't what I was feeling. Not towards this person, but I could see and I could feel that other people were feeling angry. And so there was this one person that came on my post, and oh my gosh, there was so many comments, but basically everybody was repeating each other. And there was this one person that came on my post, and part of his reply, he says that I was cooning. Just because I asked that one little question, he said, excuse me, that I was cooning, and that I was what did he say? He said that I was cooning and something about a slave master or something like that, and that was the only thing in that entire thread that would have pissed me off. There was like nothing else inside of this thread that pissed me off except that. And upon examination, this is why it pissed me off. And to say that I was cooning, because at no point had I ever said that I was in support of either of these presidents, these guys. I never said I was Democrat, Republican, because I don't consider myself neither one of them. I'm not none of that type of stuff. But the thing that did get at me and make me angry and not really want to associate with this guy that said it is because, well, for this person to have said that, and then you have to think about what cooning is and what that would mean to me, right? So cooning to me is someone who's basically gonna lick or kiss somebody's ass of someone who's holding them down, someone who's suppressing them. They'll get up and do a tap dance, do all this type of stuff. They'll turn on their own people, you know, it's that type of thing, you know, and I know that I'm not that type of person. And then it also says that this person thinks he's better than me, you know. So that was what bothered me. And so basically this person thinks he's better than me, and so, you know, it's like, okay, well, why get upset if this person thinks he's better than me, or why this person can throw out something that's based on nothing really. And but see, if I look at it and I say, okay, everything that's being done, said, or whatever is based on me, and it's for me, and it's for my benefit, then I have to say, okay, well, how can I take that? How can I take that, regardless of how it might make me feel, how it might have pissed me out, how it might have hurt my feelings or anything? How can I take that and push myself forward? Do I say, well, I don't care about what this person said? Because, I mean, obviously I did care, because I allowed it to bother me in some type of way. Or it caused me to make myself distant. Or maybe it just hurt my feelings because it came from this particular person. So do I just say, I don't care what he says? No. It goes right back to, why did I let it affect me? Why did I let that person, what is it about that person that said that thing? It's because that was something I figured that that person actually knew what I was about. And seeing in my head, when that person said that person had pretty much been lying. He was lying to me, you know, and that's something that I don't tolerate. I don't tolerate liars. I don't like liars. Because basically, if you'll lie to me, you'll lie to yourself, you'll lie to everybody. So when I got that, I said, okay, well, there's that. It's about lying. It's about lying. It's about that. That's what it was. Because, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I lie. I'm not completely honest. I'm not completely honest with other people in regards to myself. Because I see that not everything about me is something that I need to put out to the public. It's not, not everything is something that I need to wear as my face. So I'll tend to cover it. I'll tend to cover what my true face is, and that would be the lie. I'll tend to cover what my true emotion is, and that would be the lie. I'll tend to cover maybe what my true intention is, and that would be the lie. And so in learning that and understanding that, that's what helps me to move on. So, it's just so that I can advance and I won't be stuck. Because, I don't want to be stuck on this one board in this game and continue to be playing this same game over and over and over again. So, I passed that board. That board was the game of lies. It's the game of lies. So I got that. So I move on to another board. So it's like, okay, now what is this other board going to be like? What is it going to be about? And I saw well, look, the crazy thing about lying is that you tell one lie and you call it, oh, well, it's just a little white lie. But that one lie, now you got to cover up that one lie with another lie, then another lie. And now the next thing you know, you're building up this whole personality based on a lie. Now you just live in the lie. Now the lie is walking around. It's walking around with legs and limbs and a face. And that lie can have a real beautiful face. So it's about truth. The thing is to get rid of the lies and bring forward the truth and live in the truth and live my truth. So that's why I say there's a lot of people out there that's talking about they're living their truth, and you know that they're living a fucking lie. Because once you're able to see in yourself that there's anger, there's a particular type of anger, that there's fear, that there are lies, there's jealousy, any of it. Once you can see it inside of yourself, it's pretty easy to see it inside of somebody else. So that's how I can tell. That's how I can tell. And living my truth is what I'm working on doing, to completely live my truth. And just like every levels of this game that I play, it's a challenge, and that is a challenge, because that is a challenge to completely live my truth. But I know that I can, and I know that I will live my truth. And that is what Michael Burnham is going through. There's an episode where they were talking about the burn, and she wanted to get this information so that they can analyze the data in regards to where the burn came from. And it turned out that her mother was the advocate, and her mother, when her mother started to speak, Michael thought that her mother was really going to be on her side with everything. But to her surprise, she pulled all kinds of stuff out of her because Michael was not telling the complete truth.
Asking this quorum to take what she says on faith. She demands trust while her own actions are cynical.
Michael, in her not saying what she should have been saying, that was still a lie, because withholding the truth was still her lying. So this is just part of this life, though. It's to figure out how you can live your complete truth without being hindered. You have to lay yourself bare, and once Michael Burner laid herself bare, that was when she received the prize. That's when she received the information that she was looking for. That was called
To call and Kent.
But if you watch the series, then you know what I'm talking about. So, but she didn't know that her mother was even on the planet. But when she decided to invoke this type of ritual that the Romulans do, so that she can speak with certain leaders, certain governing forces that was on this planet, she had to invoke this. And it turned out to be her biological mother, who turned out to be her advocate. And yeah. Okay. All right, y'all. I hope you guys are still with me in this. I didn't realize I was going to be doing this long. This is more than just a discovery. These are my confessions, y'all. These are my confessions, and y'all are bearing witness to my confessions. As I was getting on into this series and into season 2, I saw that they were dealing with fear and aggression. And that brought to mind the sacral chakra, which is your second chakra, which is your right behind your navel. So I'm just gonna say your sacred sacral, your womb for women. And in this is where they brought in the red angel. They started talking about the sphere data, and also control. And so basically what they're doing, they're showing as Michael is continuously progressing through her emotions and continuously rebuilding herself. And they showed that this red angel was her mom. And I didn't really see that her mom was really there, although they showed her as being there. She was more of, to me, she was more of an energy that moved through time and space. She is an infinite energy. She's a record keeper. She is like the Akashic record. She's the past, she's the present, she's the future, she's all of it at once. And when I saw her come into this, and although her and Michael was having this dialogue together, it just seemed like really what Michael was doing was connecting with an ancient ancestor, or just connecting with her higher self and pulling down information that she actually needed for her journey. And with this journey, so it has to go into the sphere data information, and then I'll have to go back to the red angel. So with the sphere data, it was a red star that was getting ready to go supernova. Now remember, all this stuff is from Michael. Supposedly it's supposed to be from Michael. This is just how it came across to me. That everything is about Michael. And they showed her as a child in regards to wanting to see a supernova. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's being put together. Then it's like Alice in Wonderland, all this stuff. But this sphere was getting to go supernova, and as it was going supernova, they were showing that that there was a lot of information that was coming off of the sphere, and that the ship Discovery was downloading it. And the more they were downloading this information from this sphere, Saru was being affected by this information that was coming through. And they were showing, first they showed that he had like a slight cold. But the more and more this information was being downloaded into the ship, they started calling it a virus. It continued to affect Saru. And Saru, people go through what's called the Bahari. And this Bahari is they're preparing for death. And so the more and more this viral information was coming into the ship, and you can also, I was also seeing the ship as being like a body, and everybody inside of this ship was just some part of the human body. So I know this may even seem like this virus that's going on in the world right now, and it should. But it turns out that now as the data finishes downloading into the ship, it turns out that Saru, instead of dying, he was actually transformed. He was transformed into a stronger, more upright, more confident being. Because this information helped to bring his transformation on. And well, this virus helped to bring his transformation on, because basically it was just information. It was like an upgrade that was coming down from this supernova, this red star that was going supernova. Just like the red star that's going supernova now, Beetlejuice. And so he didn't die. Instead, he, like I say, he became stronger. He even, and until this energy balanced off within him, he was even more aggressive until it balanced off. And so now with this information that's coming down into the system is where this entity called control comes into play. And control is like an old type of energy, and it's also seen as a type of virus.
Sphere data. Yes.
To me. And what control wants to do is have control. And this energy called control, the very first person that it attacked was Lieutenant Tyler. And it now remember, Tyler went through a transformation, and Tyler was no longer this overly aggressive being. He was this more, I don't want to say docile, but he became a more loving, more centered person. He became a more centered person. And control struck out at him first to try to take him out. And I just saw him striking out at that type of person, as that's not the type of person that control wants to exist, because control is very aggressive, control is very angry, control is very controlling, and it wants to stay in control. And then this takes me back to Michael, where Michael refuses to take control and be in control and to guide herself. And during the struggles with control, trying to get all of this data that was coming down from the sphere that went supernova, we get to see that Michael is preparing for it's kind of an initiation. I want to say she's preparing for an initiation, and to see if she can withstand this. So she's about to have kind of an upgrade herself, and she's afraid. She's in fear of what could happen. She's in fear that going through this is not going to work, that it's really just going to kill her, that she's going to die, but she's going to put herself through this anyway. She's going to go ahead and go through it because she has to get the information. She needs the information. She needs to understand what this red star is. She needs to understand what it is that has to happen so that she can be pushed forward. And so she allows herself to be killed, in a sense. She allowed herself to die, in a sense, so that she can be reborn. From there, control started to get even worse and just really ridiculous. But this and what I saw in this was just so amazing, because to fight off control, to get rid of that old, stale, stagnant, aggressive type of energy that was inside of this starship in Discovery, that had infected or was trying to infect the starship Discovery. It took female energy to do it.
Doesn't have to be this hard.
Not hot is boring, and I hate boring.
The data is in the spore console.
And it's going to hurt. And I'd like to hear you scream now.
She reminded me of Kali. She reminded me of the energy of Kali going up against it and to destroy that old, stagnant, domineering, controlling energy. And I just saw that once that fight was over, once control was destroyed and put back into its place and this diminished, that was when Michael took another turn. Michael brought Giorgio from the Terran universe. She brought her from the underworld. She brought her from the Mirrorverse. Because she needed her. That energy, she needed that energy because that energy is what was used to fight off control. And this is what's going on this planet, like right now. This is what's going on right now. Female energy is tackling and going up against and getting rid of all of this overly aggressive, old, stale energy on this planet so that a new energy can come in. And it's not an energy to control you. It's an energy that will work beside you and help to build you. And so once all of Control's energy was dissipated is when Michael gained she gained so much energy and information throughout this, and she was even more prepared for this journey to be pushed forward. And also inside this season, so that was the transformation of Michael. It was to bring that energy, and she did. So she brought that energy to fight control. And there were several other transformations that I was seeing going on with this, because even Tilly was affected by a bacteria that connected with her DNA, and it transported her into another universe, and it completely broke her down to transform her into another universe. And she came back a little different. And also with Stamets did the same thing. Stamets went into, while he was connected to the neural net, the mycelial drive, he went into a type of a coma, and he was transported, or he more like he sort of astral projected into the mycelial network.
I'm gone. Gone? You don't know, do you? Paul, I'm so sorry.
And he saw Hugh. And while he was, now they were, Tilly was able to come out of this in the same way that Stamets came out of it as well. However, when they attempted to bring Hugh out of it, and Hugh was like he was actually trapped. Hugh was taken into it into a completely different way than how Stamets got in, and in a different way how Tilly got in.
I brought him here. Thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed.
It only changes states.
Even in death, his energy passed through me while I was the link to the network.
Hugh got in because he was inside of Stamets. He was inside of Stamets' mind, and they did something similar to this on the series 100. But Hugh was inside of Stamets' mind, and because Stamets is connected to the mycelial network, and he's always crossing boundaries and jumping from one place to the other, and he's pretty much astral projecting. He was able to leave like a spore print of Hugh inside of the mycelial network, and so Hugh was built up from the mycelial network, from various parts in the mycelial network, and the entity that lived within the mycelial network let it be known that no, Hugh can't come out in this way because there is no human DNA that built him. There's no human DNA inside of him. He's built up from the mycelial network. And that got me to thinking in regards to how one is born into this world. Because in order to be a part of this world, you have to be born into it through our bodies. And that was why Hugh couldn't come back here the way that everybody else did, because he was something completely new.
It's safe to cross here. See? I'm right here.
His energy may have come from your world, but everything else, everything we used to build his body came from ours. So our matter is not your matter.
The cocoon on our side is made entirely of atoms from the human world. If you take Cobra's DNA and add it to the cocoon...
I'll see you on the other side.
And so he had to be brought back by this entity in a particular way because he was new. He was completely reborn. And once he got back, and he didn't know how to be in this world anymore. He didn't know how to be around the people anymore because everything was just different. He didn't know how he fit anymore. And he knew that he still had emotions and he had memories of a past life, he knew that it wasn't him anymore. And he had a talk with what was her title? No, she's not Missy. She was the Admiral, right? He had a talk with the Admiral, and the Admiral is working like a subconscious mind as well. And the Admiral let him know that you can move forward from this. You just have to choose to do it. It's your choice to move forward in what you actually know, in what you feel. You can move forward with that, or you can move in a completely different direction. It's all your choice. And of course he chose to move forward. He chose to move forward with it. And so this is another way of pushing forward, and he stuck with the one that he considered as family. And I saw this as this was also what happened with Michael, because Michael's transformation and his transformation, they didn't happen simultaneously, but all because they were all inside of the same season, it's like it all happened at one time. So as she had her transformation, he was having his transformation too. So he was being reborn and she was being reborn as well, because she was getting all this new information that was coming inside of her, so that she can continue to clear out and work her way up into her heart, because you got to get there. And so she so towards the end of season 2 is with the Red Angel. The facetious man, he's like this, and his legs are apart, or his legs are together, and you might see like sections of his arm, and that's what the Red Angel looked like as well. And
I'll set a signal.
And so
Signal like the North
Michael
Star, that's what this is.
has transformed, so now she's ready to be the Red Angel. She plotted out these 5 different areas. She plotted 5 different stars, or 5 different points of reference, which is like the five points of a star, like the star that I showed, like the star that's prominent throughout the spaceship. Our body, the 5 points: arm, leg, arm, head. I need to back up again because something else just came up. Inside of the series, the OA, what she did, she mentioned in regards to having to have 5 people in order for her to go in and save the one that she loved, or just to do this jumping into another universe. That's the same thing that Michael did here. She put out a call and she got her 5. So now that you have your 5, so that's the house. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you right in the middle. And now she's going into the future. And so it goes into season 3. And before she left, she mentions that she's going to send up the final star. That will be 7. She's going to send up because she's 6. There's the plotted 5 for the house. She's 6, the middle. 7 is going to be the final one. So she says she's going to send up a final star, and the red angel is going to be that star. So when she get over into season 3, that's going into the solar chakra and working into the heart as well. So we see that that she's crashing into a ship.
After I watched more episodes inside of the season, and then I reflected back onto this scene, I thought, oh, wait a minute. She was trying to get into the heart chakra, and she couldn't because she wasn't ready yet, because it turns out that he's her heart. That's her home. They're home to each other.
And so now comes in Booker. So she crashes into Booker. And so this is some gorgeous male energy here. And so then you have hers. So initially there is like this tug of war with the energy. But it's like it's trying to get familiar with each other, and then they start to calm down.
And after all, you can't rush love. So that's why when she crashed into the ship, it was like that was some resistance. And then watching them in that little spar, which was more like a little foreplay, you know. So it takes time to get into the heart, to get the heart to actually open up. You actually have to get to know it. And so that was what I saw that I was watching. I was like, okay, wow, okay. So she's trying to get into the heart, but, you know, she got to get to know her heart. So initially, there's going to be this little back and forth type of thing, just this banter and whatever the heck, getting inside of each other's head, getting inside of each other's mind, and just getting to know yourself and you know, what you are and what you're not into, who you are and what you like, what you don't like, and I just thought they were just so gorgeous together.
He shows her how to navigate inside of this world. He shows her what this world is about. And he has this cat. And his cat he calls Queen. It's a big cat. And so this is also where they're pulling from Alice in Wonderland, because the cat will be the Cheshire Cat, and Book, he's the Cheshire Cat is from the book. The cat is from Booker. So it's the Cheshire Cat, and that's Book. But he's a guide for her, and he's helping her to navigate. And he is that male energy, and she is that female energy, and they become this one energy, and that is home. That is home for the both of them. And so now they're talking about this burn that happened, and the burn is something that took Starfleet out. And so now she just needs to find out what the burn is. And I mentioned this a little early on in regards to how she wanted to get this information. And so she had to, her mom was her advocate. Her mom was like her champion in all of this. But they went to, there was, they went to this planet, and there was a child on this planet, and it turned out that this child, well, he was not a child anymore, but it was the mindset of a child. It was an adult child. There was there was an entity inside of the holodeck that he couldn't face. And it turned out that he was the cause of the burn because he saw his mom die. And what the burn really was, that was Michael. That child was Michael as a child. That child couldn't face the thought of his mom dying. It was too hard. And so he was locked up inside of this place because he couldn't face it. And he refused to face what had happened to his mom, as his mom had died. And this energy that was in there with him was the reality of what happened to his mom, and he could not move forward or escape this until he faced what happened, because he has such a fear, and the fear is what shut everything down, just like Michael, because that is Michael's wounded child. That is the child right there being represented in that being inside of that holodeck. That was Michael. That represented Michael's childhood, and in knowing that her mother died. She didn't see her mother die, and he didn't see his mother die either. It was she heard her mother die, and she heard that it lingered. Her father's death was rather quick, but she heard that the mother's death was a bit of one that lingered with her, and that was what caused everything to go haywire for her. That was it right there. That was the burn. That was Captain Burnham. That was not Captain Burnham, but that was Michael Burnham. She was the cause of the burn. And so the wounded child was rescued, and the wounded child is being made whole in the heart. And now, before I continue with that path, I need to move back a little bit, because there also came in what's called the emerald chain. And the emerald chain, oh well, no, I need to move back a little bit further. Yep, I need to move back a little bit further, because before that, there was Philippa Giorgio. Philippa Giorgio was having issues with being in the future, and this was an even further future, because not only did she come from the underworld into another universe, now she went into an even further future, and she couldn't stay there. She had to be sent back because she was no longer needed. Her energy was no longer needed. Michael had already balanced herself out with the energy that was with Philippa Giorgio. She didn't need that Kalima type of energy anymore. She didn't need that Lord of Terror energy anymore. She didn't need that the Queen of Hearts energy anymore. So she had to be sent back. And then Michael, she talked and she let it be known that Philippa is gone, never to return, because she wasn't needed anymore. That energy, like I said, it just wasn't needed anymore. And so now comes the emerald chain. And with the emerald chain, they are emerald. They are the beings of the emerald chain. They're green, and the leader of the emerald chain, her name is Osira, which is like Osiris, and Osiris is green. And so you have Osira, and Osira, she's off balance. This is just showing Michael's off balance heart. She's still a bit off balance, and so this energy has to be put in its place. And so there's a battling with Michael and Osira, and so Michael is triumphant. She redeems herself. She redeems herself by balancing that energy out in her heart with Osira. And so Osira is defeated, and she says, Osira is dead, I killed her. Because she did, she killed that side of her, she killed that part of her, that part that was jealous, that part that was just needy, that part that sought to be in an unbalanced way of control. She killed that part of her. And so at the end of season 3, we see that there is a unified Barnum, a unified Michael. Michael is the Red Angel. Michael is the AO. Michael is the original angel. I am Michael. I am Michael Burnham. I am the original angel. I am the Red Angel. I descend to the stars. I am the past, the present, and the future. I have been here for a millennia of years, and I will be here for a millennia more. I am that energy that will never die. I am that energy that will grow and transform itself as many times as it needs to until it gets to where it needs to be. I am the original angel. I am Michael Burnham.